self-inadequacy, what it is and how to address it. So in psychotherapy, self-inadequacy is the common complaint. It's a fairly common symptom that people will bring to psychotherapy for help with. It can be communicated in this form of I lack confidence, or sometimes people will say I have imposter syndrome, right? It's a feeling of kind of fundamental incompetence or fundamental unworthiness. And in this video, I'm going to describe what that is, what it indicates, what the antidote is, and I'm going to give you an exercise that you can do to address self-inadequacy, okay? So the first step with self-inadequacy is to recognize and identify it. Now, sometimes it speaks very loudly, and so we're aware of it, or the client is aware of it easily. Other times it can be a little bit quiet because a common defense mechanism with respect to self-inadequacy is grandiosity. And that's why in the clinical literature, the self-inadequacy is associated with the concept of narcissism, which in the literature, not in popular parlance, but in the literature is associated with something like excessive self-preoccupation. And it's understood to be rooted in self-inadequacy. The grandiosity that we associate with narcissism is a defense mechanism against self-inadequacy. So, step one is identifying it. Sometimes it's hidden in there, and we might think that we're suffering from something else, and it turns out there's self-inadequacy in there that we need to kind of identify and recognize. Okay? Now, once we've recognized that, I'm experiencing self-inadequacy, or it's maybe the client is experiencing self-inadequacy, and the client maybe agrees to that. Yes, that is true. I experience self-inadequacy. The antidote then, now I'm speaking very broadly, is in effect humility in two respects. Humility, number one, in the respect of accepting our imperfection, accepting the fact that we're human, that we have shortcomings, that we have flaws, etc. Okay, so accepting our imperfection, and humility in the second sense of taking an active, responsible approach to self-improvement. Okay, identifying actual specific inadequacies or incompetencies and working to address those, to improve ourselves with respect to those shortcomings in whatever ways are relevant to our life and goals. Okay, so now I'm going to give you an exercise, like I said, that you can do, or if it's appropriate, you could have a client do, to address feelings of self-inadequacy. That's going to allow for this kind of processing of all of the concepts and strategies that I just named. So this would be a sentence completion exercise. And my suggestion, if you want to try this exercise, would be to do it exactly the way I'm about to instruct you to do it. All of the specifics of the instructions are there for the reason. So if you want to experiment with this exercise, that'd be my recommendation. That here's how it works. Once a day, Monday through Friday, you'll do it 5 days in a row, and it shouldn't take more than like 3 to 5 minutes. You're going to have a set of incomplete sentences to work with. And what you'll do is and I'm going to give them to you in a second, you're going to write each sentence out in turn, and you write the incomplete sentence, and then you're going to write, or you could type it, 6 to 10 endings for that incomplete sentence, and then you'll write or type the second stem that I'm going to give you, and write or type out 6 to 10 endings for that sentence, and you want to go quickly. You want to just punch out endings. It doesn't need to be true what you say or write. It just needs to be things that complete that sentence, and you want to just punch them out real quick. If you feel stuck, you just invent stuff. It doesn't need to be true. You get 6 to 10, and then you go on to the next incomplete sentence until you've done. I'm going to give you 4 of them, okay? And then you do that once a day, Monday through Friday. If, one day to the next, there's some repetition of endings from the previous day, that's okay. All right. And you're going to work with these sentence stems. This is an exercise, by the way, that comes from Nathaniel Branden, this sentence completion exercise in general. These stems come from me, but the way this exercise worked was developed by him. It's a very powerful exercise. But in this case, for self-inadequacy, you're going to start with this sentence stem. If I can accept feelings of self-inadequacy, ... Okay, that's the incomplete sentence. Then you're going to write out. You're going to write that stem out each day, and then write out 6 to 10 endings for that stem. Go real quickly. Don't censor yourself and invent if you get stuck. Okay, and then the next sentence stem is going to be, if I can accept my imperfection, ... Okay, the third stem will be, if I take 5% more responsibility for self-improvement, ... And then the fourth stem will be, I am becoming aware, which is kind of an integrative stem to integrate the awarenesses from the previous 3 stems. Okay? You do that once a day. I would say do it 5 days in a row, maybe Monday through Friday, and then you can reflect on it over the weekend. And, you see if you feel a little more well-structured after that, if you feel a little more comfortable in your skin after that, okay? Self-inadequacy is a symptom from a fairly kind of fundamental part of the psyche, and so by working on this symptom, there can be it's quite beneficial results. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video about self-inadequacy and found it useful. I will be back with more soon.